Welcome back to Just Keep Parenting, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing the word. Thank you for having real moments when we all need to check in with each other and recognize that parenting is hard, teaching children is hard, and we can do this together. So today we're going to be talking again from the book, Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. And we're on page 169, and we're going to talk about how to respond to our children's upsetness. The past couple of vlogs, we've talked a little bit more about positive intent. We've talked about empathy, and now it's kind of slid into that. You know, we all have fussiness. We all fuss. We all throw fits, right? Even as adults, we find ourselves doing that. And so, how do we respond, right? Dr. Bailey, the author, says how we respond to our child's upset teaches them how to respond to the upset of others. And I am a firm believer of that. I was in a forum the other day with Clarence Thomas, who serves as a Supreme Court justice. And one of the things that he talked about was he had a grandfather that he just adored and raised him. And he just said his grandfather he never did say, do as I say, not as I do. He always said, do as I do. And I've been thinking and pondering a lot about that, talked about it in our class with the teachers today. What does that look like in my life? Do as I do. Because sometimes we do think, oh, just do as I say, not as I do, right? But this whole concept of how do we respond to our child's upset teaches them how to respond to this upset of others. I've been thinking about how that fits in with Justice Thomas's idea of do as I do, right? So I'll be thinking about that today as we talk about a little bit of parenting. So there's two factors that Dr. Bailey talks about, and she said the first factor, not the number one, is the parents, the teachers, their own level of upset. What is our level of upset? And the second factor is the degree to which the parent equates misbehavior with disrespect, right? It's that personal piece, right? You're lashing out at me when in reality, they're not typically lashing out at us. They're upset, they're angry, they're sad, right? But somehow we take that personally if we can't put up that, not a barrier, but put up that piece of plastic that says, I understand, right? This isn't about me. This is about you, right? And this misbehavior is related to their inability to process emotion, right? It's not related to disrespect, even though sometimes we may look at it. And Dr. Bailey talks about we cannot, right? Disobedience does not equal disrespect, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Because if we take it personally, our ability to offer empathy will just automatically plummet, right? Instead, if we perceive that fussiness, that fit that they're having as a signal that the child is having trouble handling a disappointment, we can better summon our empathetic abilities. And I just love this whole piece, right? It's not about taking it personally. I had a situation this week where I could have taken something personally, and I was listening to the Dalai Lama, and he talks about how we have to come to that point of mental immunity, right? Accept our responsibilities if it is our responsibility, but if it's not, to be able to put up that that piece of I'm going to call it responsibility, and help the child work through it, right? So here's a situation that Dr. Bailey talks about, and we've had a few of these happen, right, in our situation here in the lab school. It says, you give your child a warning, I like to call them reminders, that bedtime is in 10 minutes. She throws herself on the floor and screams, I'm not going to bed, I hate you. So what's your first response? What's your likely response? Think about that, right? I hate you. I had a child yesterday said to me, I don't like you very much. And I said, I can totally tell you're disappointed in me, sweetie, right? But I have to keep you safe, and you were running away, so your job is going to be to hold my hand. I don't like it. I don't like you. I said, I am totally feeling your disappointment. I get it. But my job, I know, it's to keep me safe, right? So I can only do that if I hold your hand because you were running away. So we talked. Pretty soon. She wasn't yanking on my chain anymore, yanking on my arm. And I said, it sounds to me like you're ready to go out on your own. Can you stay here with the group? Yes. Great. Then I'll let go of your hand. And they did, right? Didn't take her 1 minute, though, to go up to the next teacher and reach out and take her hand, right? And so helping them to understand that we all get disappointment. We all want to know why, right? So we talked about in our class this morning that even at my age, I still want to know why I need to do something. And I have lots of experience with that. These little ones don't have that experience yet. So helping them. And I said to the teachers, I get tired of saying, tuck your chair in so that nobody else will trip on it, right? But I say it over and over because they are working on that muscle memory. And so helping them to understand the why really does help them to accept it much better, right? So going back to the situation, right? What would your likely response be? Did you ignore the tantrum? Did you give in and postpone bedtime? Did you punish your child? Or did you show empathy, right? And that's the kind of parenting style that we typically have, is looking at that response, right? How did we respond to that? So style number 1, right? You ignore the feelings, right? We can use these emotional moments to get closer to our child and to teach about emotions. So ignoring them, right, sometimes makes it go away, sometimes makes it disappear, but they're always going to come back, right? Unless we take that moment to emotionally get closer and teach them about emotions, right? So I was talking with one of my students a few weeks ago, and she talked about how in a divorce situation that there was, she got to be 9 and 10 years old, and she was still throwing tantrums at 9 and 10. And developmentally, that's not necessarily, that's out of the box, right? And so she said that when her stepmother came on board, she said, my stepmother saved my life because she taught me that throwing tantrums was not the right thing to do. She gave me a safe place. She loved me. We talked through what I could do instead of throwing a fit. And we talked about emotions. And she said, she saved my life. Right? And I just thought, wow, that's pretty amazing that as parents, as step-parents, as people who love children, we can really save their life if instead of ignoring, we get closer to them emotionally in that moment and we teach them about emotions. The second style is we just let the child cope on their own, right? And it's a lot like number 1, ignoring. We rarely step in to help them manage the emotions, right? Instead, that parent may try to distract, soothe, or bribe to end the upsetness, right? And we may have all been guilty of that at some point in our life, right? But we just want it to end, so we're willing to do anything, right? But there again, it's the time issue, right? When we ask them why they're angry or why they're upset, right? We're teaching them to analyze and to think, not to feel, right? And so as we think about why do you feel that way? Well, right now I don't really know because I'm in my brainstem. So as you know, what kinds of things are you feeling right now? What happened that made you feel this way, right? Talking them through those emotions, right? When we ask children why they're mad or angry, right? They don't have the answer for us, right? And that teaches them to stuff their feelings. Don't feel it, just analyze it. Sometimes we say, are you okay? Shh, no need to cry. There's no need to cry, right? I have been guilty of that one, right? Because that teaches them that their feelings upset me, right? And so this promotes the children taking care of others' feelings at the expense of their own. So I walk into it now, right? I lean into it and say, tell me what's going on, buddy. I can tell that you're upset. You're crying and your eyebrows are furled together and you've got your shoulders, right? I can tell that you're really upset. Tell me what's going on, right? And we can talk about it, right? And they may still say they hate me. I don't want to talk about it. Yesterday, I had a little boy. I don't want to talk about it, Miss Story. I totally get that, buddy. You don't have to talk about it now, but I'm here if you want to talk about it. I can tell you've been crying. I can tell you're limping, so something must have happened. Come to find out, he didn't want to cry in front of others, right? So he's already to this point that he doesn't want he's taking care of others' feelings at the expense of his, right? Number 3, we punish their feelings, right? So we criticize feelings by forbidding them to display anger or irritability, right? The emotions become signs of disrespect, right? Sometimes the number one phrase that goes along with this one is, I'll give you something to cry about. Cry a little harder. So it causes us to threaten. It causes us to sometimes lose physical control and harm children, right? Because they've just made us so mad. We've both lost control, right? When we've punished their feelings. And then the 4th one is we offer empathy and we teach them about emotions, right? So most behavior represents an intense feeling, right, without an appropriate outlet. We got this stuff going on. We got big feelings going on, but we don't know how to express it. That's what behavior is, right? And sometimes that is misbehavior. I always like to say, I think children aren't capable of misbehaving because they don't know how to behave yet. They haven't figured that out. As adults, most of us have figured out what behavior is, right? We're the ones that misbehave, but we would never say, wow, you're really misbehaving to an adult, whereas we'd say it to a child. So we have to remember that when they're in that emotional fit or that emotional fussing, that these are the opportunities, right, to teach emotional good sense and help them, right? Our understanding doesn't need the limits don't need to change the behavior, but it helps the child to accept them. Let me just read one more thing in here. It says, Arthur badly wanted inline skates. His mother had offered to help him with strategies to earn the money and buy the skates. But Arthur wanted the skates immediately, and he became belligerent. One morning, Arthur was dawdling as if he wanted to miss the school bus. When his mom said, hurry up, Arthur, he sarcastically responded, what do you think I'm doing? His mom felt ready to strangle him, but she breathed deeply, using the power of acceptance, and told herself, this moment is as it is. Relax. Then she tried empathy. Arthur, you seem upset, she said. Arthur resisted his mother's nurturing and responded, what do you care? You're not the one without the inline skates. Bingo. Finally, she realized that his obnoxious behavior was Arthur's way of expressing his disappointment. Right? If we can just lean into it, pretty soon they're going to tell us. Mom then opened her heart to her son and replied, it's hard to want something and not get it immediately. As Arthur started to relax, tears came to his eyes. Mom, everybody's skating on the street but me. Mom responded, you think that if you don't get in there soon, you may lose your friends. Arthur tearfully said, yeah, I won't have any friends. Mom answered, it's scary to feel left out. I will not buy you the skates, right? She's not giving in. But we can work out a plan so you can earn the money and get out there faster to skate with your friends. I also think that if you ask 1 or 2 of your friends to sleep over, that you can stay connected until you get your skates. Maybe not a sleepover, but maybe a play date, right? With sullen movements, Arthur headed out the door, right? So she helped him process and express his emotions in a socially acceptable manner. He was being belligerent. He was being mean. He was being disrespectful in some people's eyes. But she was able to see beyond that and recognize it had something to do with his disappointment and able to help him process through that. So that's our goal this week. Can we help our kids? Can we not take it personally, but we can look at what is really happening inside of their emotions and being able to help them know how to process and then state them, right, in a socially acceptable way. So go team, just keep parenting. Thanks for joining us today.